But let's get into the final segment of this recording. The offensive line is arguably the most controversial um, position of need for the Baltimore Ravens. There's some people that are like, no, we got guys. We have our starters, right? I'm totally fine with, Ronnie Stanley's coming back. He's going to be in peak form. We've got, Ben Cleveland or Ben Powers. We've got, I really believe in Patrick McCarry and Kevin Zeitler and then Morgan Moses. Like, a lot of people are like, yeah, we're set at offensive line. And then other people are like, oh, man, Ronnie Stanley's not going to be the same. We can't start Patrick McCarry at center. He was terrible. He had that horrible playoff game. Oh man, we can't rely on Ben Cleveland. Like, some people are like really against the offensive line and really believe that we need to address it. Let us know what side you guys are on. Is it a massive need or are we set? But we're going to be talking about the best O-line prospects for the Ravens to draft. Now, spoiler alert, we're not talking about any first round players. There are guys, right? Guys like Charles Cross, Ikene Okonkwo, Tyler Linderbaum. There's players, but we wanted to go into the later rounds because it's more likely the Ravens draft players in the later rounds at the offensive line spot. That's where they've done it traditionally, outside of like Ronnie Stanley. That's really where they've been going. Look at Ben Cleveland, look at Ben Mason. A lot of guys in the later rounds. Well, best offensive line fits. Who is your guy, Joshua, that you think is the best fit for this Ravens team? Wherever in the draft, but there's a lot of guys. We have some that we've kind of highlighted that we'll talk about, but there's like 400 offensive line prospects. We can't talk about them all in one video. So who are your favorite guys?
Y'all know previously I was talking about Daniel Flaherty, and everything dropped with during the Senior Bowl where he was getting pushed back and everything like that. I know everybody's like, oh no, he was in the pass pro. He got pushed back. When you're doing your steps, when you're doing pass pro, you're already going backwards. So it didn't make it no better. But honestly, a guy that has been on my radar is Mr. Darian Kinnard out of University of Kentucky. Just let me pull up his, because I believe he's like a 6'5". He's a 6'5" guy, and I believe he's in the 300s, and he is a right tackle, 6'4", 324 pounds. One thing that sticks out about him for me is his aggressiveness. Right now on that offensive line, I'm not going to say we have cupcake guys, but we do not have nobody with the physicality as a Ryan Jensen or a Matt Burke or Edwin Mulatalo or Kalicho or Simile right now. The only guy, in my opinion, that hasn't got enough play time, that is a mauler, that is a dog, is Big Sexy, a.k.a. Ben Cleveland. Big Boneyard that's still eating squirrels. Shout out to him. I'm not doing it, but hey, shout out to him. But honestly, y'all, I see that he's great on the one-on-ones. He doesn't mind putting his opposition in the dirt. We love that type of energy here in Baltimore. We are a run-style offense first, and if you're going to be a run-style offense and still going to run the ball and barely pass the ball with any creativity, you're going to need some nasty guys up front to protect, your franchise QB and also some of the best running back duo in this year, upcoming year. Yeah, I'm saying it because I got three guys that's going to be in the running for comeback player of the year, and there's three guys that's on our team, and it's Lamar Jackson, Gus, and J.K. Dobbins. I'm saying it right now, and I'm claiming it. So, but he's a mauler. He doesn't mind getting dirty. The only thing he has to really work on is his hand technique, and honestly, for his athleticism, he hasn't reached his plateau yet. So he can get better. He can get stronger. He has smooth footwork. Excuse me. So adding a Darian Kinnard with this offensive line, and also maybe even move Mr. Morgan Moses to the left tackle until Ronnie Stanley comes back healthy, and let Darian Kinnard get those reps at right tackle, or even vice versa. I think that would be the smart move.
I'm going to agree with you, and I do think that tackle is probably the bigger spot that I'm worried about drafting. Now, center is someone that I think the Ravens should go out and draft or, sign in, undrafted free agents and things like that. Don't worry. I do think the Ravens should do that. But I think tackle, just because we don't know when Ronnie's going to be able to come back, he may not be ready to go from day one. So,
Right.
we need to go after some players that can play. And I like Darian Kinnard. I think he would be a really solid one. But I'm going to go with Daniel Flatley. Just because he reminds me too much of a man by the name of Zeus Jr. Um, I don't know if that's the best nickname for him, but I don't know, Baby Zeus Jr. It's tough to call him Baby when, he's like 6'8", 330 pounds. But Daniel Flatley is very similar to Orlando Brown Jr. He came out and it was just like, oh, he's a bit raw, but his size and frame is as good as you can get, right? You can't teach height whatsoever. You can teach technique. And the Ravens have actually done a phenomenal job when it comes to teaching technique at the offensive tackle position. Because the players that the Ravens have drafted and they've just randomly thrown at tackle, they've actually done very well. It's the players that they didn't draft and they were veterans and they threw out there, like Alejandro Villanueva, where it was like, oh my gosh, no, get him off the field. We didn't get to teach him how to play. All right, he also got a lot older. He used to be one of the best tackles in the NFL. But you look at Patrick McCarry. He was a center and interior offensive line prospect. And the Ravens were like, oh man, we need you to play tackle. He was like, okay. And it was like, whoa. He's not a guy that isn't bad. He's actually good. He was a good offensive tackle for the Ravens when he was healthy. I feel like if we draft Daniel Falahi, he's someone who he may not start week one, just like Orlando Brown. It took Orlando Brown like halfway through the season before he was able to get in. Flatley could go out there and just work, and eventually, if there is an injury or something unfortunate happens, he could slide in. But I just want to get him in with the Ravens trainers because I think his potential is one of the highest in this draft at the offensive line spot because of his size, because of his strength. He had an unfortunate Senior Bowl, but who had a really unfortunate combine? Orlando Brown Jr. Sometimes it's just not your day, right? Tiger Woods has played bad rounds of golf, right? Tom Brady has missed passes. Now, is Daniel Flatley, the greatest player of all time? No.
I'm about to say, watch out now.
He is the Tom Brady of offensive tackles. No, I'm just kidding. They call him the Tiger Woods of the line. But, no, I mean, it's just something where, like, he had a bad day. And then, Jermaine Johnson had a great day. So, we can work with him, and I think we could get him up to being a very good tackle. This isn't a 6th-round pick projection like a Stone Forsythe, I think is how you pronounce his name. The offensive tackle out of Florida, that ended up going to, I believe, Seattle. He was like a 5th, 6th-round projection, and it was like, he's just massive. He's so big. He has so much potential. Flatley is a 2nd, 3rd-round projection. He is not a guy where it's like, oh man, he's just like back end of the draft. You can draft him for potential. No, this guy was a starter. He came out of IMG Academy, I believe. I believe he's actually from Australia or New Zealand and ended up coming over to play, football at IMG and then the University of Minnesota. So I really do like him as a prospect. Even though he's fallen off of a lot of Ravens fans' radars, I still think he's a valuable player draft tackle spot. So I think he's probably my number 1 best O-lineman fits, at a reasonable spot. Now, obviously, if a guy like Ikem Okonkwo falls to 14, draft him. like that's, arguably the best offensive lineman in the draft. So
no arguments there.
Yeah, like the biggest thing for me is just like, hey, he's a really solid player to get, day 2. But, on the interior side of the offensive line, Joshua, what are you thinking? Are there guys that you're looking out for, maybe center or guard, that you think we should draft or would at least be good fits to draft in Baltimore?
I know Cade Mays. He's one of those solid guys. He was at the Senior Bowl. I think he was one of those guys with the shirt always half up when he came out of University of Tennessee. I don't know too much about him, but I know he has that dog mentality. But someone else that I do like coming out of University of Memphis is Dylan Parham, the converted tight end linebacker that played dang near everywhere. It's just like somebody else we know that we gave a 3-year extension. Doesn't that sound familiar, TTB family? Doesn't that sound familiar, Ravens flock? Because I know a lot of us are banking on, Patrick McCarry being that starting center. I mean, and don't get me wrong, y'all. I had nothing against Patrick McCarry. He literally he has a warrior mentality because he's still trying to play center, even though his thumb was cut. You should have said something, could have wrapped it up, whatever the case, and we could have kept on moving, but you didn't. But hey, it is what it is. We moving forward, and hope for the best. But Dylan Parham, he's another guy that's been versatile. He's been playing left guard, left tackle, right tackle. The only position he hasn't played yet is center. But because of his, I think he's another 6'3", 313 pounder. They are listing him as a center to become a center in this year's NFL draft. I mean, honestly, with the IQ of going from tight end to linebacker, that really sticks out to me. He does have good footwork, smooth ability to get side to side. The only thing is that he lacks is that anchor ability to hold down and hold those blocks. And when you're the center, you have to be one of the smartest guys on the field. You have to be able to sustain those blocks. You have to be able to get ready to engage as soon as you hike that ball and be able to survey the field. I think that comes with time. I think once you get those reps, get those live reps, and keep on working. Because honestly, this upcoming year, we had too many moving pieces on that offensive line. And once we get a solidified offensive line, when Ronnie Stanley returns back and those guys gel and build chemistry, they're going to be better. Because that right side with Zeitler and Morgan Moses off the rip from day one, that's going to be the strongest side of that offensive line until we figure out what's going on that left side, because left guard is questionable, and also until Ronnie Stanley gets back, that is a questionable position as well. So I mean, bringing in another versatile guy, someone being willing and able to learn how to play center. I know we had Cologne as well, but we need someone that's that can be more solidified.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of Dylan Parham. That versatility is something that I'm looking for, especially on the interior of this offensive line, right? We don't know exactly what the Ravens want to do at center. If Patrick McCarry needs to play tackle, well, then we have Tristan Colon Castillo, who the Ravens did retain the rights for or extend the contract. However, it is that the undrafted 53-man roster contract stuff works. He's staying, but we need that versatility. We don't know exactly who's starting at left guard. Is Ben Powers that guy? Is big sexy Ben Cleveland that guy? We don't really know what the Ravens want to do. So I do like versatility there. My favorite guy is Cole Strange out of Chattanooga. He played left tackle, he played left guard, and he played center. That's as versatile as you can get. When it comes to playing the offensive line. He only started, I think, one game at center, but that shows that he is willing and able to adapt. And I like that because the Ravens oftentimes ask their offensive linemen to be willing and able to adapt, right? We drafted a man by the name of Tyree Phillips. And all of a sudden we were like, hey, play right tackle. Hey, play left guard. Hey, play right guard. And he was like going all over. Now, on the interior, monster player. On the tackle side, wasn't as good as we would have hoped. But it was the versatility. We found, hey, maybe he's not great at tackle. And a lot of people were like, oh, he's such a bust, right? Because he couldn't play tackle. All of a sudden, we threw him on the interior, and everyone was like, wait a minute, this guy's really good. Because the versatility allowed him to focus in on what he was really good at, and then now, he's a guard. And he's a very solid guard. Well, we could find out Cole Strange, maybe he could, compete for reps at center. He could compete at the backup tackle spot. He could compete at the left guard spot, backup right guard spot. He can play everywhere. Heck, we could throw him in at swing tackle. I don't know. Also, Dylan Parham, swing tackle, former tight end linebacker. That athleticism. So there's a lot of potential with these guys, on the interior. And that's why I think both of us liked them, was because they're versatile. And we don't know exactly what the Ravens need, because they haven't come out and said, here's the plan, here's the day one opening offensive line. We don't know who's starting at left tackle day one. We don't know who's starting at left guard. And we don't really know who's starting at center, because McCarry may be starting at tackle. And then it could be Tristan Colon. But do they believe in Tristan Colon? I don't know. So Cole Strange, Dylan Parham, definitely good guys to look out for in this draft.
I like the fact that you brought up Cole Strange because guess who his comp player is?
I have no idea. I'm going to guess Ryan Jensen, a former Raven.
Nope, someone that's currently center that's currently in free agency coming out of Cleveland, J.C. Tretter.
Ah, perfect.
So
a lot of people want J.C. Tretter too.
I was about to say, if we can't get J.C. Tretter and we pick up Cole Strange, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah, if we can't get him, get the guy that's supposed to become him, right? You know, oh man, we can't get LeBron James in free agency. All right, let's draft Bronny.
I'll take it. I ain't got no complaints with that.
Yeah. So guys, let us know who are your offensive lineman players that you want to look out for. And like I brought up, and I think both of the other segments, going to be putting out a ton of NFL player draft profiles, scouting reports, and stuff like that. You know, my goal is 3 a day up until the draft, and then during the draft, it's going to be an absurd amount of content. Don't worry. Make sure to hit the notification bell, you know, make sure you're subscribed, and make sure to let us know who you guys want us to talk about, because that's who we're going to talk about, right? You know, I've got players that I, want to make videos on, but I've also gotten a lot of comments on players that you guys want me to make videos on. I'll do both. I will talk about them. Like, we will be talking about a lot of players. Don't worry. We will get to them. Whether it's an offensive line or, hey, maybe we'll come out with a Matt Ariaza, the punter out of San Diego State video. The scouting report everybody wants. I don't know. Whoever you guys want to hear about, we can definitely talk about them. Should the Ravens draft them? What are their pros? What are their cons? Things like that. It's going to be a ton of content. Make sure you're subscribed. And we will see all of you again next time. And check out the Trust the Bank podcast on podcast platforms if you're just watching on YouTube. And if you're watching on podcast platforms, thank you. We appreciate you. Make sure to rate and review. And we'll see all of you again next time.